over the past few days, we've been engaging in yet another phase of this campaign. We've kept a positive visionary campaign at the forefront of this undertaking. We know that there have been issues that have been raised in the corridors about matters related to the management of the Secretariat, but that is not a focus of our campaign. We have been answering a call for change and have therefore been sharing Jamaica's vision, the peace-building and unifying spirit that Jamaica has brought to the global stage over many years. You know, I share often, and I've shared with several colleague foreign ministers. I've engaged with heads, I've engaged with foreign ministers, and indeed ambassadors across the piece, because I believe that it's important to respect all levels of representation of government, and it's important that all arms of the Commonwealth are also a part of our considerations. So I share when persons raise, you know, the concept of Jamaica leading. They raise the question as to Jamaica Jamaica representing some other country or some other entity going forward. And I share that I take offense at it, because not only national offense, but I take personal offense, because the sovereign demonstration of Jamaica's agency has been clear from our independence. And the role we've played in decolonization, in liberation, in human rights, and in promotion of democracy globally should speak for itself, that we've long acted as a nation beyond our size. And I have actually been a little concerned that people have been sort of pressing a narrative that we would be agents of another state in this campaign, as if a small country can't determine that a leader who was born and raised, has lived, has served, and continues to live and serve in a small island state cannot bring that lived experience to a global stage in a way that's effective, efficient, visionary, and promotes global progressive thinking. I've taken a little offense at it. So I'm always pleased when I have the opportunity to remind people how Jamaica operates on the world stage. Just as recently as last week, I was asked to facilitate the discussions in the WTO on reform, the process for reform, and to think that I would be asked to add that when I was also serving as coordinator for the OECPS group, which, as you know, is 79 states, 62 of which are members of the WTO. So being coordinator, making sure that the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states all had their views put forward, that we maintained unity, solidarity, while also ensuring pragmatic and flexible approaches to global trade issues. That Jamaica has been at the helm of that undertaking since 2019. It's usually 1 year, but we've been asked to extend and extend. And we have so done with good results. It was a positive experience for us to ensure that there were outcomes not only on WTO reform, but on food security, on COVID-19 response, on the TRIPS, which was supported, although we weren't demanders of an outcome in that regard. We were very supportive of it. And of course, fisheries, which I had facilitated at MC11 in Buenos Aires in 2017 and has been long awaited. So Jamaica, and in fact, not only Jamaica, but I have been asked to play a role, and I have been for the past 6 years as foreign minister on the global stage in the multilateral sphere. And we therefore hope that we can leverage that experience for the benefit of the Commonwealth. So just some thoughts that I would share at the outcome of this discussion, and of course, I'm open to your questions. We are quite clear that there needs to be a review of the strategic action plan, because it will need to be aligned with not only the outcomes of this CHOGM, but we do understand from feedback that there were views that felt that they could have been more strongly represented, that there has not been sufficiently consultative approach with the Board of Governors in some of the decisions that have been taken. So ensuring that there's alignment with not only the mandates of heads, but with the views of those persons that are appointed by heads to manage in between CHOGM, that they are taken on board, and that there's consultation also with the accredited organizations of the Commonwealth, which have a great wealth of knowledge, experience, and value to bring that can actually be leveraged to the benefit of the people of the Commonwealth. So there's an intention to ensure that the strategy is properly aligned. And there's, of course, a desire to ensure that the operational capacity of the Secretariat is fit for purpose, and that our monitoring and evaluation systems are sufficiently robust to rebuild the trust and confidence that I think is needed in the Commonwealth as an institution in order for us to obtain reinvestment. Reinvestment is a big part of us being able to deliver. And I have been quite clear at every stage of this campaign that what we wish to deliver is a Commonwealth that is able to deliver to its people. And part of that is ensuring that refinancing is in place in order for projects and programs to be more impactful at the community and individual level. Not speculate. I'd rather not speculate. I haven't seen the report, but I am aware of the concerns raised by the Board of Governors. So I await to hear how that matter will be treated with, if indeed it will be treated with over the next coming days.
Because the Secretariat, when it's an admin problem, it's not something that they're covering up.
I couldn't speculate, and I'm not given to speculation. I know that the board has requested a report. I am aware that a report has been done, but I couldn't speculate as to what is in it or why it would not have come to the fore at this stage when requested. So I will wait to see what comes out.
That is what
them. I can see it's unusual for the incumbent to be challenged on their second term.
But it has happened before, at least twice. So this would be a third time. I am not sure why critics would feel so deeply about it at this point, as opposed to, and why memories are so short as to not recall that it has in fact happened before.
So you don't think it's to be good?
Not at all. And in fact, I mean, democracy is about choice. And I think presenting more than one choice, especially where it has been encouraged. I've said before in many different fora, no need to go into who, because I know that there were countries across different regions that encouraged me to come forward. So and had I not, no, the UK is supportive of my candidacy, and I'm very appreciative of that. And in fact, they've been great about being vocal in their support and seeking to garner support, and that's what a campaign is about. They're not the only country. India has come out, Singapore has come out, Maldives has come out, Trinidad has come out, Grenada has come out, Belize, who is the chair of CARICOM and is the current chair of CARICOM, has come out in support of my candidacy, and they actively encourage other countries to support my candidacy. So I think to try to position it in a particular way suits a convenient narrative, but it doesn't bear any relation to reality.
And before you go, why, my apologies, why don't we reframe it and say the candidature is unifying of the Commonwealth?
You believe
because
it is
you can look at it from two ways. So there's a school of thought that is trying to caricature it as divisive, when we have seen a significant plurality of heads, and we never just got up yesterday and said we're going to put Minister Johnson Smith. We were engaged by heads over years who saw the work that she has done internationally, who saw the unifying approaches she has made at the ACP, at the WTO, and other fora, and said, we believe that this individual has the competence, the temperament, and the approach that can bring the Commonwealth together and make it stronger.
But how does that candidacy come very late in the day? Some might say a little too late, maybe.
Well, I think as one foreign minister said to me in my earlier consultations, that if she had to put her money on anyone in a sprint, it would be on a Jamaican woman. So I have taken that, I've owned it.
Pretty fast. Maybe at distance.
They're good at distance. They're good at distance. But I did consult with my sister Monica before I embarked on this campaign, and certainly when Kenya withdrew, they did send out a note saying that they were withdrawing at that time in order to allow and in the hope that another candidate would emerge. But we took time to think about it. We took time. I am foreign minister. I am leader of government business. My role is a full role, and one that fills me with pride every day, because there's no country I would prefer to represent than the island of Jamaica. But that is what I have not only committed to, it's what I have put in writing, it is what I have stated in all my engagements, 2022 to 2026, one 4-year term. I don't see it as shortchanging Africa. I'm not sure why you would have phrased that.
The assumed expectation is the rotation will go to them within 2, and I think Baroness Scotland has said she's willing to just run for another 2 years.
I find it interesting, your line of questioning, because your line of questioning is very aligned to the talking points that we have seen that has been manifested.
Yes.
Well, let me answer. Initially, the conversation was the second term has not begun yet. There was an extension of the first term. We saw 2 weeks ago that the conversation has changed to say that the second term has actually begun and we just want to continue. Your question is aligned to that messaging. There has been messaging in various fora coming from various agents to say that the candidature is divisive, and they started off with a position where different CARICOM states, as their sovereign right, expressed a different view. I would love if we could have a conversation about what the candidate brings to the table, rather than trying to emphasize some of the unreasonable, unfair, and mischaracterized statements that have been pushed out by the agents who we are not going to name.
Well, what is the point?
We have countries who are members of the BRICS grouping, countries who are G20, G7, and at varying levels of development. We all bring to the table not only diverse views and resources, whether human, creative, or natural, but we also bring a great foundation of commonality. And in a world that is as fractured as it is today, in a world that is as divided as it is today, a body that is already placed on a platform of unity, of institutional structures, of language, in many cases, culture, and with a base of principles that have been agreed already in a charter, which is of quite recent vintage. The charter is really just 2013. It is, and it was embraced by heads, by member states, and continues to provide a basis of recognition and embracing of law and order, of human rights, of promotion of democracy, and the empowerment of young people and women. Things that we all need to embrace and work on moving forward. And we all have shared concerns and challenges in respect of climate change in particular, where the voice can be raised and leveraged. Climate action in particular, I think I prefer to speak about climate action than climate change, because climate change is what is needed is climate action, and that requires climate financing as well. Jamaica has been working in different fora. We've been working in the UN together with Canada and with the Secretary General, and in another instance together with France and Qatar, to develop lines of policy thinking around creative financing, development financing, and financing for the delivery of the SDGs. And the most recent initiative, which was started during the pandemic, was for financing for the era of COVID-19 and beyond, which is about cross-cutting development financing. And we think that policy threads that have come out of that can be leveraged within the Commonwealth for the benefit of the Commonwealth. We believe in it, and we believe that this grouping of 54 countries and counting counts for something in a world where division is too often found. The UN response has been very encouraging. It has been encouraging from day one, and I continue to engage with my African brothers and sisters from the different regions, and again, we'll say no more than that it has been very encouraging. The last question, that is one that sits within the remit of heads. It's actually not the responsibility of the Secretariat to determine such matters, very much the decision of heads. And I think that they last took that decision in 2018, where it was determined that there would be no change in terms of the structure of the Commonwealth. Will that be the state forever? One would have to put that in the realm of speculation, but it is very much the remit of heads. I think on the matter of what issues the Commonwealth should consider, must take into consideration how the Commonwealth is able to leverage its advantage and its resources. The Commonwealth cannot be everything to everyone, and it cannot take every issue. There are several issues which reside within the UN and with which member states of the Commonwealth are already treating, including matters related to reparations. So that I think to replicate the voice diffuses the voice when there are other matters directly related to immediate action that can be taken. And that is not to exclude anything, because this is what consultation is about. What do heads think is important to them? What do heads want the Commonwealth to pursue? If it remains parliamentary reform, electoral reform, trade capacity building, climate action, oceans actions, then that is where the focus needs to be, on what heads determine. And should they determine that other issues be addressed elsewhere, I think that the Secretariat would need to be respectful of that and to follow the mandate of heads. I wouldn't want to shy away from a question like that, because I bring a commitment to good governance, a commitment to transparency and accountability, and a collaborative approach. But I say that not to, again, focus on what was, but to focus on what I bring. So without commenting on the first part of your question, I'm speaking about what I bring to the table. In the event that I am chosen, I will be bringing governance, transparency, and accountability.
Do you have a bit more application to the principles?
I think it is important for us as a Commonwealth to encourage adherence to the principles of the Charter. That is what heads committed to when they signed to the Charter. But I think the point of recognizing that all countries across the world are on different phases of their path to respect for all human rights. But we abide by the Charter. We believe in the Charter and the conventions which exist to support that. So there is the UN Convention on Human Rights, which underpins and to which we all subscribe. And then in addition, there's a Charter. I think that to try to single out countries at this stage in particular is not, it's not helpful. It's not helpful. I think
one of the questions about, obviously the Commonwealth is at a crucial time in its history, where questions are being asked about what is its purpose.
Yes.
So let me ask a question, and I've been observing.
If the principles exist,
yes,
and we invite countries to observe them, but when there's no,
I think the point is to recognize them as a process. And you've hit on the point. The Commonwealth has taken action where it has felt action was appropriate. And I think that recognizing that countries are all on a path and there's a process, the starting point must be adherence to principles. And then how it is these principles are applied is then the next stage. And that is, I believe, I think if we're respectful of countries in recognizing that sovereign nations do have a right to, or rather, how would I phrase this? I think if we are respectful of nations and recognize their process and support them in the process, you achieve more than simply trying to take a fixed position on a particular point, such as engaging in ratings, which I really wouldn't do at this point in time.
And I think to add to what Minister is saying, I think one of the positive attributes of the Commonwealth is that it has a mix of countries of varying levels of development, countries of varying levels of democratic development. And the fact that they can all sit around a table and come to a consensus on aspirational approaches that they want to make. So they actually believe in ideals related to democracy and human rights. I think that's a tremendously positive thing. And I think that our candidature is seeking to perfect that approach. So yes, aspirational, but also action as well. Action on climate change, action on building stronger relationships between small nation developing states on issues such as how their economies are developing, the issues of women, the issues of children, and so on. And I think that's, to close this engagement, our approach as a country, Jamaica, has always been about positive engagement with states. You saw it when, throughout the years, when countries were having their challenges and struggles, Jamaica has always been a dependable partner who will work with countries positively to cause positive change, bringing people at the table together, people of diverse political, cultural, social, ethnic backgrounds. And I think that's what we are trying to project as a player on the world stage. Positive engagement to bring about positive change. One Commonwealth, one people, and one family.